When you're creating your product images and the lifestyle images, you need to make sure that the idea is quickly understood by the person looking at it. What Anthony Cofrancesco is doing is he's creating a 3-point check system where you can grade your images on how quickly people understand them. Watch how he walks you through this system so that you can create images that convert better than your competition.
There's 2 different tests that I'm gonna share with you and explain right now. There's a 3-point scoring test, and then there's a comprehension test. And so the 3-point scoring test is really easy to implement. This is meant to be objective, and it's based on what I just covered a few minutes ago about how the brain works and how it perceives information. And we've done this a couple of times at Camp Ecom and in a few different workshops that we hold on visual optimization around the world. And essentially what you do is you look at an image and you ask yourself these 3 questions, and you give yourself, you can do half a point in terms of scoring. So any image can get up to 3 points, but it can also get 0 points or a half a point. And so with every image, you're going to ask yourself, number 1, do I understand the purpose of the image? Number 2, are all of the concepts within the image related and cohesive? And then number 3, is the image visually impressive? Now, the last one on here, is the image visually impressive, is in my mind the least important. The flow of information is much more important than anything else. Like, how quickly can the brain look at an image and say, yep, got it, I understand the purpose of the image. Once you check off these first 2 boxes, then you can go and look and say, okay, does this thing actually look good? And this is why sometimes you'll be in a niche. There's like some Chinese seller, no offense against Chinese sellers, they do great, but there's a Chinese seller in your niche and their images look like garbage. How is this person beating me? My images look so darn good. But then you run this 3-point scoring test against your products and you find out like, well, maybe my images are way too complicated, or it's just not clear what the purpose of this image is. And you go over to the Chinese competitor and it's super minimal. It looks like they created this in Microsoft Paint or in Word and they just threw a text headline on there. But it's simple. It's really easy to understand. It's easy for the brain to digest. And so I can't stress that enough. Flow of information is absolutely huge. So if you're inside of Deep Dive, that's the image analysis tool, inside of Data Dive, and you look at a niche, you're going to see the same types of images over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Just like with that cat tree example, there was something like 15 different versions of the sizing infographic. And so I could apply a score to each of those. What I've done here is this is a different product. I like this one. This is for a neck pillow. And all 3 of these images are trying to do the exact same thing. They're trying to show you that it doesn't matter what position you put your head in, whether it's to the side, it's to the back, to the front, that this neck pillow is going to be comfortable. It's going to give you really good support.
Hey, if you're enjoying this content, you're going to love the masterclasses that we host on a regular basis. We've got over 1,000 members in our private community, and over 400 of them are already doing over $1 million. We regularly host masterclasses with hundreds of students, and you can find out more below. Join us.
So even though all 3 of these images are trying to do the exact same thing, they're not all equal. So on the left-hand side, the first image that we see is good. It gets 1 point in my book. And the reason why it gets 1 point is because number 1, I understand the purpose of the image. Okay, it's trying to show me, or at least from the title, it's for 360-degree support. The reason it doesn't get the second point is because not all of the items in the image are related and cohesive. So there's parts of the image that are talking about the density of the foam. It's pointing out different areas of the product that have nothing to do at all with head position. This is, I think, the biggest area that I'll critique other people's images on, is that they're trying to address multiple things all within one image, multiple purposes, multiple concepts, versus saying, you know what, someone's shopping in that distracted environment. We don't want to confuse anyone. We don't want to distract anyone. Let's just focus on one thing at a time and not try to overload the viewer. The only time that we're going to cover multiple items all in one image is if there's some kind of theme or some kind of relation between those objects. And we'll cover that a little bit later in the presentation when we go through some image templates. So image number 2, this is going to be a little bit better. I give this one 2 points because I understand the purpose of the image, right? Showing me the different head positions. Everything in the image is related and cohesive. This is all talking about 3-way head support. This has some arrows around the product and it's showing me 360 degrees that I can put my neck. This is showing me the different head positions. Now, this image, I think I was being a little aggressive on. I could likely give it 2.5 points instead of 3 because I think there's some visual appeal for this. But I think this image on the right-hand side is going to get all 3 points. Number 1, I understand the purpose of the image. Number 2, everything in the image is related and cohesive. And number 3, the image is visually impressive. And how I'm going to do how visually impressive an image is I'm gonna have to look at multiple versions of that image in the niche, and I'm trying to see like which one is the best, which one is the worst. This is the only objective part about scoring. Again, if you wanted to score this, you could theoretically give it like 2.5 or 3, but if I'm looking at all of these together, this is for sure the best. Now, visual appeal doesn't, for me, only get into how the image looks, it also gets into how is the space in the image being utilized. And the reason I like this from a visual appeal standpoint is because the whole point of this graphic is to show me I can put my head to the front, I can put it to the side, I can even do a front and a side. But instead of using 50% of the pixel space in this image to show the product, the point isn't talking about this product, it's talking about the head positions. So I much more prefer that this image takes like 80% of the pixel space to show the purpose of this image, which is in fact the head positions, instead of just using the bottom third here to show the head positions.